Hey, it's Gino here from Real Everyday English. This week I'm going to mix two of my favourite topics, which are health and fitness and English. Let's do this. Hello people, happy Sunday. It's Gino here from Real Everyday English with your weekly English learning lesson. How is everybody feeling today? I hope you're feeling good. I'm feeling fantastic. This morning I've done a 6-mile run and this gives me an idea that I can teach you guys some vocabulary. Because I do a lot of running and a lot of training, I obviously have to do a lot of stretching and injury prevention training. So the idea today is that I'm going to take you through my daily stretching routine and I'm going to show you the main stretches that I do to prevent myself from getting injured from all the running that I do. And of course, along the way, I'm going to explain some quite complicated vocabulary in some instances, and in other instances it's actually quite simple. So without any further ado, let's crack on. Okay, so just one last thing before we get started with the actual stretches. I just want to explain the fact that this is an English vocabulary learning video. I am not a personal trainer. I'm not any kind of sports advice professional. These are stretches that work for me, and I do them every day because they work for me. From the reading that I've done, these are the best stretches that I think are the best stretches for people to do when they do a lot of running. So this is not health and fitness advice in any way, but if you see something in this video that works for me and you try it and it works for you too, then that's brilliant. But the main focus of this video is English learning, not sports advice. Okay, so the first stretch I'm going to do and the first vocabulary point to teach you is it's almost like a tendon or a ligament, and it is located in the bottom of the foot. And this particular ligament is called the plantar fascia. And we need to keep this nice and loose because if it gets tight, then we can get extreme amounts of pain in the heel. The heel is the bottom of the foot here. This is the heel bone. So we describe this as the heel, and the plantar fascia runs from the heel all the way up to the top of the foot, and if it gets tight, it can pull on the heel and cause some quite nasty pain. So I'm going to show you how I stretch the plantar fascia. Okay guys, so to loosen the plantar fascia, I'm going to use a rolling pin. You can see this is a rolling pin which we use to roll out pastry normally. But I use this to loosen the plantar fascia. This is one of two ways that I stretch this tendon or ligament. So I put the rolling pin on the floor. I then stand on top of the rolling pin with all my weight. Transfer all my weight onto one foot and roll backwards and forwards. And this keeps the plantar fascia nice and loose. And obviously, as you can see here, as I'm doing the stretch, I hold onto the banister and onto the door frame here to keep my balance, and I put all my weight onto the foot and roll it backwards and forwards. This keeps this nice and loose. So the next vocabulary point I want to teach you is something called the IT band. And the IT band is a tendon or a muscle which runs down the outside of the leg. So I'm going to show you where it's located, and then I'm going to show you how I actually loosen it or stretch it. The actual technical term for this is the iliotibial band, but you will hear people refer to the IT band, and this is where it is. So the IT band starts at the side of the hip from here. It runs all the way down the leg to the outside of the knee, and if we neglect this particular muscle or tendon, it becomes tight and it can start giving you some nasty pain in either the outside of the knee or in the outside of the hip. So without any further ado, this is how I stretch it. So what I have here is a foam roller. You can see it's hollow in the middle. I can put my arm through and it comes out the other side. So it has foam on the outside. This is quite soft to cushion, and the inside is very hard. And the way we stretch the IT band is we put it onto the floor. I put all of my weight on top of the leg, and I'm obviously leaning so the foam roller is targeting the outside where the IT band is located. And then I roll from the top all the way to the bottom. Back to the top, all the way to the bottom. Okay, moving on to the next muscle to be stretched, or the next stretch that I like to do, and there's quite a bit of vocabulary involved in this one. So on the front of the leg here, below the knee, so we have a bone in the front, this bone here, which is hard. This is called the shin bone. So that's the shin bone. Or if we want to get technical, it's actually called the tibia, is the technical name for it. And along the outside of the shin bone, you have a muscle, a large muscle, which runs from the lower knee all the way down to the ankle. This is the ankle joint. And a joint is a structure within the body at which two parts of the skeleton connect together, usually for movement. So this is the ankle joint, and the muscle that runs down the side of the shin bone and comes from the ankle joint all the way up to the knee. This muscle is called the anterior tibialis. The anterior tibialis. Or you could simply say the shin muscle, but that is the technical term, is the anterior tibialis. To stretch this muscle, I'm going to use my banister again and the door frame to give me some support. But the way I stretch this muscle is so I'm going to stretch my right leg. So I need to put my left leg out in front of me. I then place the top of my foot onto the floor and lower my weight down. So my foot is now flat underneath me. I then continue to put more weight onto the top of the foot and simply pull that out, and I can feel a good stretch all the way down the front of the leg. So the next muscle I need to stretch now, or I want to stretch, is called the hip flexor. And the hip flexor is located, this is the hip joint. It's the joint that allows you to move the upper part of your leg. And the hip flexor is right here. It's right at the top of the thigh. And it's just, we call this the hip flexor, and I'm going to show you now how I stretch it. So to stretch this particular muscle, I'm using the door frame again and the banister to hold onto. But I put one leg out in front and then push the left leg as far as I can out and then lower down into the stretch. And all the time I keep pushing my hip forward with the glute, and I feel a good stretch all the way down the front of the leg. Stretches the hip flexors. Okay, so the next muscle group that I want to stretch are called the quadriceps. The quadriceps. And the quadriceps are located on the front of the leg. So these are the quadricep muscles right here. And in order to stretch them, I simply grab my foot from the back with my hand, pull the foot up as far as I can while pushing out from the front, and obviously keeping my body as straight as I can, and this stretches all of the quadriceps. Okay, the next set of muscles I stretch every day are called the hamstrings. The hamstrings muscles, and this is not the technical term for them, but this is what you will hear them referred to as the hamstrings. And the hamstrings are on the back of the leg that connect the top of the leg to the glutes to the back of the knee. And in order to stretch the hamstrings, I simply bend forward and then I try and push my chest down towards my feet whilst grabbing hold of the back of my ankles, like so. Get down as far as I can, and that stretches the hamstrings. Okay, so the next muscle I want to stretch are the calf, or the calves, plural. Take note that the plural is not just the singular with S added on. We actually change the F for a V and then add ES. So these are the calf muscles on the back, or the calves. And to stretch these, I use my stairs. So what I do is, I stand onto the stairs, and then I simply let all of my weight down, and I feel a good stretch on the back of the calf. This is the next to last stretch that I'm going to show you, and the next to last vocabulary points. And this particular stretch is for the glutes and the outside of the hip, in particular the piriformis muscle, So that's the glutes. So the glutes are the muscles in your bum or your butt, whichever one you want to say. And the piriformis muscle is a muscle deep inside that comes around the outside, and we want to get a stretch on that. So this is how I do it. So I use my sofa and some cushions. I then put my leg like this, fold it in, and then rest my weight on top. So you can see my leg is in front of me. I then lean forward into the stretch to get a good stretch across the glutes and the piriformis. Okay, so we're on to the last stretch of the day now, and the last stretch that I want to show you is a stretch that stretches the inside of the thigh. So the inside muscles here, and these are actually called the adductor muscles. But in order to stretch these, we do a stretch which is called the splits. Now I need to adjust the camera so you can see. But basically, this is the split stretch, and I can't get all the way down, but I am pretty flexible, I like to think. So all you do is you spread your legs out as far as you can, and then push the weight down, like so, and that is stretching all the inside of the thigh. That's it for this week's video. I hope you learned something new. I hope you found it useful. If you did find it useful, by the way, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And also recommend this channel to your English learning friends. I'm on a mission to help as many people as I can improve their English in the world. So we'll see how far we get with that goal. Thanks for watching today's video. It got a bit awkward at times. It was tricky to shoot due to the nature of me having to do the stretches and show you the vocabulary at the same time. But the main thing is that you learned something new. I hope that was the case. Until the next video, bye people, ciao.